Welcome to Machining Minds, Ace Driven, the podcast where innovation meets opportunity in American manufacturing. This show dives into the people, programs, and powerful ideas reshaping the future of U.S. machining and advanced manufacturing. Whether you're a student, an educator, an industry pro, or just curious about the next wave of high-tech talent, you're in the right place. Each episode, we'll bring you real stories from the shop floor to the classroom, highlighting cutting-edge training, career pathways, and the inspiring individuals driving change across the country. This is Machining Minds, Ace Driven. Let's cut into it. So, welcome to episode 3 of Machining Minds, Ace Driven. I'm Justin Maples with WSU Tech. I am the ACE program training coordinator. And if you guys missed the first 2 episodes that we had, the first one, we had pretty much the gurus of ACE on there. We had David Robertson and Jose Nazario from down at Tennessee, the University of Tennessee. And in my second podcast, we actually had 5 of the trainees that were going through the ACE training here at WSU Tech with myself. And since then, we've actually named 3 of those our spokes off of our hub. So speaking of hubs in the ACE world, we have on the line right now Nathan Panik from Texas A&M, and I'm pretty sure that they run the biggest hub, the biggest ACE hub in the ACE program. And I actually went to training with Nathan back in 2023 down at the University of Tennessee. Can you hear me, Nathan?
Yeah. Thank you, Justin.
Sweet.
I'm honored to be on here.
Yeah, I've been waiting to get you guys on here. I just couldn't wait for it because you guys are so successful when it comes to the ACE program. And that's where I am striving to go is I'm striving to be as successful in this program as you guys are. So I couldn't wait to have you on here to share some of your success and to share how you guys got so successful at it. What do you got to say about yourself, Nathan? Let's hear a little introduction from you.
Yeah, I can introduce myself a little bit. I'm currently in Bryan, Texas right now. I was actually born in Bryan, moved around a little bit. So I spent some time in Colorado and California, but came back to Texas for school at Texas A&M. I graduated with a degree in industrial engineering, but I think more importantly, throughout my school career, I became more familiar with the machining, and I fell in love with it, and you couldn't keep me out of the shop after I found out about it. I've just been looking for any and all opportunities since then to learn more about machining and train others in machining. And yeah, it's just one of the things that really drive me.
Sweet. And I've been down there to you guys' shop where you have your ACE trainings. And as soon as I walked in, there you were back there in the back working on one of your machines. And you guys got a phenomenal facility where you do your trainings. We're pretty proud of ours too, don't get me wrong. But
yeah,
I could tell as soon as I met you down at University of Tennessee down in Knoxville, I could tell you were passionate about machining. And me and you and Dave, a bunch of us, we got together and become buddies down there. So
yeah, that was fun.
It just so works out that Dave, now he's working directly for IACME and for ACE. And now my job title has ACE in the job title. That's what I do at WSU Tech. And that's pretty much what you do, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good class of people that went through that in 2023. When it come to me, you and Dave, I think I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we've put a pretty good stamp on the ACE program since then.
Yeah, I remember getting compliments from Emma Betters about our class, and I thought she was just saying the same stuff to every class, but maybe there was something special about it.
Oh, yeah. It was a great training. Like I've said on this podcast a couple times, I didn't know what to expect when I got down there. Most of the time you go to a training and all they're wanting to do is sell you something or try to tell you that this is a better way to teach. And it's put together by a bunch of people that have nothing to do with machining. They just want to get you going on their program. But when it comes to the ACE program, when we got down there to that training and the first day, within the first 30 minutes, we're out there on the machine and they're showing us how to do things the way they do it. it was different than any other training that I'd ever been to.
Oh yeah.
And I could already picture seeing WSU Tech for sure running this ACE program. And here we are, 2.5 years later, and we've got a pretty good ACE program going.
Yeah.
I want to ask you some questions, Nathan. What first got you interested in machining, and how did you discover the ACE program itself?
Yeah. Yeah. I came up through homeschooling, so I didn't really have as many opportunities for some of the high school CTE stuff. So when I went to college at Texas A&M, I didn't know what a mill was or a lathe was. It wasn't until my sophomore year I had a friend message me and saying, "Hey, there's a class for teaching how to use a lathe, and we should take it." And so he and I went and took it. And I remember clear as day, the first time I walked into that shop, Smoke on the Water was playing. And it just really set the mood for the shop. I was like, I just want to be here more. And so I did that. I came back to every single class that they taught. They were just like these little hour and a half pop up classes. Took all of them. And when I'd finished, they were like, "Hey, you want to like volunteer in the shop?" I was like, "Yeah." And after a month, they're like, "Hey, you've been doing a pretty good job volunteering. You want a job?" And things just kept progressing from there. Eventually started running one of the machine shops on campus and just ever really loved it ever since I started. And that was about 10 years ago.
Heck yeah. So, how did you find out about the ACE program?
Yeah. So the SEC CNC machining competition that was hosted by Tennessee back in 2022. It was the inaugural competition, and Dr. Tony Schmitz helped organize all of it. And it was between four schools. So it was A&M, Tennessee, I think it was Auburn, and Mississippi State. And whenever we applied to be on the team, they said that you had to go through the ACE online programs as like a prerequisite. And I don't think it was a way to make sure it wasn't like a safety training where we want to make sure everyone runs machines. I think it was just a way to get some people in the program initially. And so I didn't really understand. I still didn't know about the air engine or anything. So it wasn't for another 6 months after that you and I were at that training in Knoxville where I really started piecing everything together. I'm like, oh, this is what this is. It's a national training for everyone. Yeah. So when I first went through, I didn't know what it was. They were like, yeah, it's just a prereq. I'll get it done.
Yeah. So, you actually went through the training kind of the same way I did. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. I didn't know about the air engine. I knew I was doing the online training and programming that part, and didn't even realize till I got down there that there was an actual air engine involved. And in one
Yeah.
week, we were going to build an air engine that actually runs.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome for me. And from now on, every time I see you, all I'm going to think is you walking into a machine shop and like smoke behind you and the song Smoke on the Water playing. That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
that is awesome.
I've got some cool pictures from that competition too, because we ran that machine in Tennessee pretty hard and there was a lot of smoke coming out of it. It
Really?
was like the coolant mist.
Did you guys win
Yep.
at that competition?
It was neck and neck between Texas A&M and Tennessee. I think Tennessee won.
They probably cheated though. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But so after that competition, a couple months later is when I started working in my current position. And by the time I got here, we were already, I think, partway through our contract with ACE. So like when I started, they're like, "Hey, you're going to be doing these ACE trainings." And when I came, they had banners with pictures of CNC machines on them so that when they had tours come through, they'd be like, "This is what we're going to have here eventually." So there was like an empty shop. So I was able to put everything together and really start from scratch.
Man, that's cool. So you built that whole shop pretty much yourself down there.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I can't wait to get back down there. I'm going to try to go to y'all's H Tech when you have it in October. What's the dates on that?
October 16th and 17th.
Okay. And then our regional H Tech will be November 6th and 7th here at Wichita at SU Tech.
Yeah, our first day, we're going to be running people through OS certifications, and then the H Tech will primarily be the second day.
Sweet. So that's another thing I want to talk to you about since I got you on the podcast is we talk about ACE on here and what the ACE program can do. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about how you guys implement the Haas training into the actual program too.
Yeah, it wasn't my idea, but it was Dan Robles. He's actually one of our trainers at the Haas factory outlet in Spring, Texas. He's one of our spokes. And so he's running through the ACE program. And he had told me several times, like, hey, I have him doing the lathe and mill certification. And I honestly didn't really know what that was until last year. I went to the National H Tech up in Minneapolis, and Dan was like, hey, I want you to go through these certifications and then you can do them at your school. And so after I went through it, I was able to pretty clearly see how this could be implemented because it's just a couple hours of videos and quizzes online. And then you take a quick 10-15 minute certification test in person at the machine. And you can actually get students to run the parts that are you making and call that the certification test. It runs a little bit differently than the way ACE does things. We usually do it on the last day of the program. So we'll have people do like an engraving on the piston block. And then we'll just ask them some extra questions with our certification sheet. And they tell us where's the coolant coming from and how to check it and what kind of things the operator should be doing and what kind of things the operator should not be doing on the machine. And at the end of that, they get their certification. And we do something similar on the lathe where they make their own piston.
So tell everybody, if you go and get your ACE certification, which is 4.5 days, and then you go get your Haas certifications. So how much would that cost somebody to do if they were going through both of those certifications?
At our facility, it's free
Yeah.
for all of it.
And I can't tell people enough that all this is free. It's being paid for by the Department of Defense. So why wouldn't you take advantage of getting a certification through the Department of Defense, through ACE?
Yeah.
And I talked to a high school yesterday over in Lamar, Missouri. I was telling them everything great about the ACE program. And they said, that's all good and well, but how much is that going to cost? And I said, it's free. I said, it's sponsored by the Department of Defense, or it's funded by the Department of Defense. And they just couldn't believe it. I said, I'm not in here trying to sell you anything. I'm in here trying to give you something. And
Yeah.
so I was talking to the machining instructor and he just fell in love with it. And after I got done talking to him, I went in and started talking to his boss. And she said, what's the perks of doing this ACE training? And I said, it's informing people what machining is. And I said, you are the boss over the machine shop. Would you explain to me what machining is? And she said, I'm not sure. I know it's cutting metal with a mill. And I said, this is what the ACE program is teaching people is what actual machining is instead of a machinist, they cut metal. That's all people know. Everybody knows what a welder is and everybody knows what a mechanic is, but nobody knows what a machinist is. I think that's what ACE is doing a great job at getting the word out on what machining is.
Definitely.
Yeah. How does ACE training prepare somebody for real world jobs in manufacturing in Texas?
We have a lot of different styles of work that we go through during the ACE trainings. And I try to explain, like, at this point, we're going to be doing what an operator would do, where you're bolting a part down in the machine, you're pressing the green button, you're closing the door, and all that. And those guys, they'll just be running parts. But then other parts of the trainings, you get to act as a programmer. And a lot of manufacturing companies will have dedicated programmers where they just set up the tool paths of the machines. They make sure it's very efficient. And they spend a little bit more time on the computer versus the machine. And then we also do some part inspection with some calipers. And so with certain manufacturing companies will have inspection departments where they're just checking the machinist to make sure that the parts they're making are in tolerance before they go out to a customer. And so there's actually a lot of different jobs that we can give a little bit of a glimpse on what it's like in manufacturing.
Absolutely. So that's one thing that I was on a podcast with WSU Tech the other day, and our president, Dr. Sherry Utak, she asked me the same question. What's it look like in the real world? And I said the same thing. It's not just learning how to be a machinist or learning what a machinist does. It's doing a little bit of metrology, measuring parts, it's programming. It's a lot of aspects when it comes to the manufacturing side. That's where we're lacking in our talent is all the way across manufacturing, not just machining. And You guys
Yeah,
have that same problem in Texas, I'm sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies hurting for people to do some manufacturing.
Oh, yeah. Now, do you guys are you into the ACE metrology just yet? Have you guys
We are
did any of
very
that?
close. So we actually just ordered all the tools, like calipers, micrometers, and gauge blocks for that,
Yep.
and they just arrived yesterday.
Okay.
I know the next steps are I'm going to be meeting with Dave or Jose to walk through the curriculum. And it's a little bit different than the machining ACE because I don't have to go back to Tennessee to do that training.
Yep.
They said I can work through it myself and figure it out.
Yeah.
And then we're actually hoping to try to do the metrology right after the machining, but it's going to be tight. If you start at 8 a.m. and work till 5, you can do ACE in about 3 days. And so we could theoretically get metrology done on the fourth and fifth day of the week,
You bet.
but we're not sure yet. We're going to try.
Yeah. And we're part of the metrology too. So those of you that didn't know, there is an ACE metrology certification that we're going to be starting on. And it's simply measuring with micrometers, calipers, height gauge, and I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I know there's some extra stuff with a surface profilometer and a coordinate measuring machine and a structured light scanner. We have a couple of those pieces of equipment that hopefully students can see and use a little bit. If you don't have one, you can always just play the videos for that portion of the training just so people get that experience.
Yep. Yeah, I knew that we just ordered with our kit, we just ordered the height gauge, the micrometers, and the calipers. I think that measuring class, I think it's going to be great for an introductory deal, especially we can push that to some of the younger students that we have that's not quite old enough to go through the ACE program yet. And by the time they get to the machining program, they will already have the metrology under their belt.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the vibe like in your classroom or shop? Do your students build a strong community while they're learning, or do they work together? How do you guys do that when you're doing a class?
Yeah, every camp is a little bit different. Like this last week, we had a camp with one of our research groups called the Robotics and Automation Design Lab, and they build robotic systems that are going into space. And we told them about the ACE program, and they agreed that they wanted to come. So they had maybe 8 people come, and they all already know each other. It breaks that ice. They're laughing and joking the whole time and getting to learn together and tease each other in a lovingly way whenever someone makes a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
But we also have that vibe with our trainers. They've been working together for a couple of years. And so even if all the participants are, hey, I don't know anyone yet, we still have kind of this good, friendly vibe around the shop. And I usually spend a little bit of time the first day just trying to scare everyone a little bit, just about safety, making sure that they take care of themselves. And we've had a spotless track record so far with safety. So I want to keep it that way.
You bet.
After that kind of initial, I'm trying to stop from making a mistake. I want everyone to learn from their mistakes, but don't be afraid that don't try to hide things. It's fine. Things break, it happens. Sometimes I'll tell people I've probably broke more tools in my career than y'all even touched this week. So
Yeah,
it can't be worse.
that's right.
Yeah.
So do you have like different age groups working together there at Texas A&M? Like sometimes we'll have a class where we may have a 17-year-old and all the way up to a 65-year-old. Do you guys have those age gaps in your classes?
We get a lot of college students just from our proximity with A&M, but we do have different age ranges. We get a lot of college students in our program because of our proximity with Texas A&M, but we do have boot camps with some large age ranges as well. We typically don't let people under 18 into the shop unless we have some extra paperwork completed. So we're actually planning some homeschooler boot camps that'll be occurring soon for people down to age 15.
Yep.
And so in those cases, we're going to have 15-year-olds, 16, 17, 18. But we're also going to try to have their parents come. So it'll still be a wide range.
Sweet. I've been thinking about having an ACE training, like a parent child ACE training. And that sounds like
Yeah.
what you're saying, where it don't have to be a dad and a son. It could be a dad and a daughter, or a mom and a son, or a mom and a daughter, or a grandparent, whatever. That kind of sounds like what you're meaning there, right?
Yeah. And it's cool too, because I mean, I have some younger siblings that are still homeschooled, and One of them is turning 15 soon, and he actually wants to go to machining next year into a program they have up in Colorado.
Yep.
So I told him about this opportunity, and I think my dad and my brother will actually fly down from Colorado and try to attend this program we're going to have in about a month.
Man, that'll be awesome. I think
Yeah.
parents always want their kids to know what they do at work, whatever, and as well as I do. If you're a machinist, there's never a take your kid to work day because they they don't want kids around the machines. So
Yeah.
I think I think it'd be a great thing to have
Yeah.
parent child day or whatever. When you have
Yeah.
those trainings with older participants and younger participants in the same proximity, do you find that the older ones or the younger ones learn easier when it comes to ACE or the same? Or what's your thoughts on that?
I don't know, this could get a little spicy, but so far I found that the younger the people are, the faster they learn. And we had the youngest person we've had so far has been 17. And it was tough because we were very careful with having minors in our facility. And what's worse than a minor is a bored minor. And so this guy, he finished everything so fast. And then he was just like wandering around, just looking for something to do.
Yeah.
And so I had to keep my eye on him just to make sure nothing happened. But I've noticed that like the older people, they spend a lot more time on the computer CAM software. Unless they've used it already, it usually takes them longer to understand what they're supposed to be doing. On the machine, though, it's about the same for everyone. I haven't really noticed any demographic doing better or worse. It just really comes down to the person.
And I've noticed the same thing that you're saying too is when it comes to programming and anything on the computer, the high schoolers or the younger they are, it seems they grew up in that.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with a computer, so it takes me longer to figure things out than it does a 17-year-old that's on a computer all day.
Yeah.
They actually grew up with technology, and when it comes to everybody says that kids do this or they do that different than we did. It don't matter how far back in time you go. The adults have always said, "Hey, the kids they're irresponsible or they have no work ethic." It's just they do things different. I seen a
Hmm.
deal at an in service that we had, and there was a sign up on the big board, and it said, "Kids are irresponsible and they're lazy. They don't respect anybody." And it said, "Who said that?" And everybody's, I don't know, probably somebody back in the 60s or something. It was Socrates that said that. So it's
Hmm.
always been that way since the beginning of time. And if we let the kids deal with the technology that's in machining and we show them, hey, when it comes to all the programming and all the fun they can have just on a computer, which they love, I think it's going to create a lot more interest in machining when they see that, hey, we get to do things that we love to do and we get paid for it.
Yeah. I don't really kick myself because I didn't have any opportunities to do machining when I was younger, but I think about how much fun I would have had. And I thought about what kind of stuff I'd want to do when I grew up. And I was like, I knew I wanted to be an inventor of some sorts and put things together and assemble them and try to make new things. And the entire time, I had no idea that machining was even a thing. And, I'm almost jealous of the kids that get to do this stuff so young nowadays. They just get so much more hands on experience than I had the opportunity for.
Absolutely. And that's like some of our students that leave WSU Tech and go out and get them a career and they come back in a year or two and tell us how much money they're making. It's holy crap. That's quite a bit. That's more than we make by a
Yeah.
long ways. But that's why we're doing this. That's why we do what we do is because we like showing students a better way of life than we had or how to make a better living than we do. And
Mhm.
that's I guess that's what you get when you work for a school is you got to have that
Yeah.
attitude. So you got anything else, Nathan?
I guess one thing I wanted to mention, since you were interested in how we do the Haas certifications and ACE metrology, we're actually trying to incorporate another certification into our programming through Nitutoyo, which they're a metrology company. So they make a lot of hand tools and CMMs and all kinds of inspection softwares and machinery. Well, they have these micro certifications that you can take very quickly that just helps prove out your knowledge and the use of calipers.
Yeah.
And this last week, we did our pilot program with a couple students, and they got to do a computer test where they actually try to read vernier calipers and dial calipers, and they ask them some questions of just about how they're supposed to be used and cared for. And then we have this really cool artifact that they get to measure in the level 2 test, where the test will say, hey, you need to measure between this point and this point with this part of the caliper, and then they have to do it. Then they have to enter in that measurement.
Yeah.
And these artifacts are then put on a quarter measuring machine, and they've figured out exactly all the dimensions. And so they know the true answer for this particular kit. And so we've had 5 people go through that so far. And I think I found some good ways that we can incorporate in the program. And that's just another 2 certifications that our students will be able to get just by coming to ACE. Yeah. So we're just really stacking them up there. I think we're up to 5 or 6 certifications just in a week if we add that.
Man, that's great. To me, the more certifications that a student can leave with and go to a job interview, and we have all of our students build a portfolio. And when they go to a job interview, they lay them certifications out in front of the interviewer, and they say, hey, I'm certified in this and this. The more they can have, that's the more they can sell themselves at a job interview.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
And these caliper ones are cool because I think a lot of students do get to use calipers, but very few get to use them correctly and actually get tested on it.
Yeah.
And it's a hard test. We actually had a guy fail it yesterday. He's a college student who's been probably using calipers for years, but he didn't get enough of the questions right. So he failed. He's going to have to retake it. Oh, so yeah. It's definitely a hard.
So it's not a gimme, huh?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I love that. We do NC certifications through WSU Tech, and all of the certifications you do through NC3 with the precision measuring instruments, all Starrett based instead of Mediterranean, probably along the lines of the same thing. And when it comes to students measuring, like you said, with a pair of calipers correctly, we got a company over here in Wichita that'll hand you a part and a micrometer, and they'll tell you to measure that part, and they don't even care. And they've told us this before too. They don't even care what you come up with as a measurement. They just want to see if you're holding the mic correctly. And you know, so it's teaching students how to use measuring equipment, whether it be micrometer or caliper or a 6-inch scale. It's very important when it comes to the machining world.
Definitely.
So
I think just learning what a thousandth is, a thousandth of an inch, knowing the scale and how to achieve that type of accuracy is, I think, one of the big things for even a lot of design engineers. So they know what it takes to achieve a tolerance and how to measure it and when they need to use it.
Absolutely. And being able just to speak the lingo of what a thousandth is or a tenth. And most time when a welder, they'll bring over a piece of material and they'll say, hey, can you cut 5/10 off this? They're talking about a half inch. They're not talking about 5/10. Yeah. So like you said, knowing what a thousandth is, and not only knowing what a thousandth is, but knowing exactly how big a thousandth is.
Yeah.
We can sit here and talk all day about this is 3,000, but if you don't realize that a sheet of paper is about 3/1000ths, then you have no idea what we're talking about. But Nathan, you got anything else to add today, or?
No, I think that's pretty much most of the stuff I wanted to cover.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Man, I really enjoyed having you on here. And like I said, I couldn't wait to get you on here because I knew you full of information when it comes to the ACE program. And I think you mentioned Dan Robles. I believe he's coming on next month, and he's from down there.
That's awesome.
Down there in Texas, right down there by y'all, I think. I just want to keep having these so I can get all the information out there when it comes to the ACE program. And
yeah, definitely.
So if you guys are listening to this podcast and like what you hear or don't like what you hear, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong, because we want to hear them both. That's all we got. It's good talking to you, Nathan, and we'll see y'all on episode number 4.